Welcome to this special interview with the Executive Director of Ambassadors TV. Is J.Gbainhea. Mr. J.Gbainhea will be talking about few things in the Liberian media, ranging from the President of Liberia, reporters, activities. Mr. J.Gbainhea, you're welcome.
Oh, thank you, Mr. J.Gbainhea, for having me on your platform today.
Okay, tell us, how is the Liberian media? How do you see it now?
Well, the Liberian media, as we speak currently in our 21st century dispensation, there are a couple of challenges that the media, especially in Liberia, or media practitioners are faced with. Because if you look at some of our colleagues in the field today, in the field of journalism, some of them are not going to school because they feel if you just create a page, a social media page, where you have 10 to 15% following you, you become a journalist. So most of you hear people say, join the list, not journalist, because the word journalist came from the word journal, which had to do with pen and paper. And some of those young men and women that are not taking advantage of education to advance their skill in this profession are doing harm to themselves, because there have been over 10 to 15 years people who strive into this field were not opportune to have the kind of a digital or platforms today that this generation is having.
What you think might have been the cause of this just rush into the media profession?
You know, the greed for money. This is some of the reason why some of our colleagues in the media today are having this challenge.
Do you see that as greed for money? Don't you think that the profession is just wide open, that anyone can just infiltrate at any time?
It's true that people can infiltrate, yes, but there is one thing: the regulation of the media activities in Liberia is not seen to the fullest. Because if the president of Liberia, the Ministry of Information, if those bodies are responsible to make sure that information that are coming out to the public, it should be information that should be authentic, that will change the narrative, but not to embarrass the society we find ourselves in. So you notice that journalists who are practicing with the right mindset in this profession, they will put their all in it. But people who are not in the level-headed mind will not think that way.
One may argue that they are giving out information, and that's why people need information.
Not because you are giving information that you are a journalist. Why? In case you live in a community, Mark, and in a community you live in, somebody just come to you and say, oh, the ones you live in, the landlord who owns this place will soon come to collect his money. You are just passing, let's say, an info because we are neighbors. But journalists are people who go beyond the benchmark to bring the happiness that other people have not seen, the untold truth. That's the reason why in journalism, especially in Liberia, people don't know that journalism has specific areas that you need to focus on. Because like in other areas, like in the Western cycle, you have people, journalists that are responsible for only health reporting. You have journalists that are responsible for only food and nutrition. You have journalists that are only responsible to investigate things that are, let's say, unseen. They go for it.
I want you to give your perspective. Do you think social media is causing more harm to the journalism profession, or is beefing up the profession?
Mark, with that question, I would tell you that everything have advantage and disadvantage. The social media is not a bad platform, I would say that. But the usage of the social media is one of the things that cause the harmfulness to people.
That goes back to the Facebook form that many of our colleagues, like you say, are using nowadays to go live and stuff like that. So what's the good side of that form usage?
Okay, Mark.
For example, here, Citizen TV, Ambassadors TV, and all of those platforms just spring out without having any root from anywhere.
Okay, with that, right, let me use my platform as a case study, Ambassadors TV Liberia. When I came up with this idea, it was under one condition. I said, we have a couple of students in the University of Liberia, where I attend as a senior student. And in my department, the Department of Communications and Media Studies, students are there studying journalism, but you are not seeing them doing the practical aspect of what they are studying. So because of that, you see the challenge in it. So I said, no, something needs to be done. Being a student who is level-headed and with some, let's say, some basic IT skills or ideas to computers, I decided to come up with this platform, and I started to have students on board. We were not just reporting stories because we wanted to report stories, but we normally report stories that change the narrative. We did a story before on a land saga in Cape Mount, where an individual was claiming this property, but because of the report that we did, the rightful owner who owns that place was able to come out to provide documents, and the documents were presented to the court, and the person was able to gain their property because the right information have come to the face.
That's the good side of it.
Yes. Another side, let's take an example, Mark. You live in a community, maybe about your social life. I just take camera, I put it on you. Oh, this is Marco. Mark is the executive director of a local daily. So because of that, Mark, when he go home, he can be doing anything. He can drink beer, he can smoke. It is not professional. It's being unprofessional, Mark. Because in that identical instance, your social life had nothing to do with my profession. As I must report things that will help the public.
You are going deep into journalism. So the thing here is, being a public figure, you are open to the camera anytime, anywhere. And your privacy, once it causes harm to society, it means that obviously there will be a check. A place where people are practicing prostitution, and then a journalist or someone picks you up and report that story. That's journalism. You know that?
I know it's journalism, but there's one thing. Journalism will not enter into a person's matrimonial home. Let me say this to you. If I invite you over to my house, right? I have my kid and I have my wife. And you came and knocked on my door, and I opened the door and you came in the house. Maybe you met me in the bouncer or wearing an underwear. It's my home, right? I'm not on the street. Not because you are wearing glasses that have camera in it, you use that means to photograph me and you get it posted to the social media. Mark, definitely without option, you are going to be prosecuted, even penalized for that. I'm coming. You are talking about in the identical space, whether a public figure. If you happen to see a public figure to a specific place, you being a very good journalist who know your code of ethics, first you ask yourself, what is this person doing here? If you happen to get the negative implication of that identical thing that happened, then you have a point. But you just see somebody because I'm walking maybe down Kerry Street, walking into the end where the disadvantaged youth are, putting the money called in Zogos, and you capture me, oh, we saw the man today walking in Center Street, Greer, you're going to go smoke.
Okay, as I assuming that I met the current vice president seated in the ghetto, and he has letter in his hands. Though I did not see him with cigarette or saw him with and then drugs, but his presence in that ghetto, do you know that is newsworthy?
Yes and no is newsworthy, right? That's the reason I said from the onset. You have investigative journalism. With that instance, with the vice president enter into a ghetto and see him with a lighter in his hand with a cigarette, you, that investigative journalist, you are going to do your background check because you don't want to come up with any allegation end of the day that will lead you maybe to the wrong path.
That's great. So
no, I come in. They had a situation in Douala where this fellow wrote a story, said this man died. And when they asked him, he came out and said, I stand by my story. The man who you said was there, they make it and standing before you, then you say, I stand by my story. That doesn't make sense. You must investigate to know what is happening. The same thing happened with Liberian National Police. Don't get it wrong. A guy by the name of Sano, he said, no, Sopon, he said the guy, the police killed him. But guess what? He was sitting right on the bench. Right in that time, some of our big journalists who name out now call, they were flying all the way with the story. Say, oh, the fellow was killed by the police, but the man was sitting right before the judge, before the criminal court. So before you come up with anything, if any human being trusts you, you should know what you're coming with to the public. Mark, journalism is not bread and butter. It is about research. It is about putting your time to give the right info. This is the reason why misinformation and disinformation is taking over our society.